The trade of Brendan Donovan, as painful as it was, has not only given the Cardinals three shiny new prospects, but it's also given the team more firepower for this upcoming draft. This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Havard, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And welcome to another episode of Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the number one sports podcast network. Thank you to all of you for getting us there. Thank you to the everydayers for always being here. For you new people, awesome to have you here. Welcome aboard. Please like, subscribe, and be a part of the action all season long here in 2026. This is a show that serves Cardinal Nation and gives you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's show, we're going to take a look at all of the goodies. We're going to the goodie room. We're going to where the new things that Chaim Bloom and the Cardinals were able to get in return for Brendan Donovan reside, the prospects, the picks, how it's going to impact the Cardinals moving forward. You know, fans are still processing this trade that sent one of the most popular Cardinals in recent history to the Seattle Mariners, and what ended up being a three-team trade that also involved the Tampa Bay Rays. Chaim Bloom did his Zoom call with the media on Tuesday to discuss the deal, among other things, because he was asked different questions as well. But, you know, he mentioned the upside of the players that he was able to get in return, as well as the importance of these draft picks that they got as well, going as far to say that the deal would not have gotten done if they weren't included, talking about the draft picks. Like, he was like, we weren't going to pull the trigger on this if this didn't happen. Bloom reiterated how difficult it was to trade Donnie for all the same reasons that you and I and the rest of the fan base love this guy, because he's awesome. You know, we loved him as a member of the Cardinals. His talent on the field, his character off the field was second to none. And I thought it was really cool because Chaim made sure to open up the call with giving Donnie lots of praise and admiration, which I found to be very, very classy. Far too often we see these moves made, and we sometimes fail to recognize that they aren't just properties. I know we treat them that way, and sometimes you got to be a little bit cold about making moves, but at the same time, these are people, you know, with families, and their whole world is going to change now. And to recognize their time with the team and what he meant to the community and the fans, I thought that was top notch. As for the haul in return for Donnie, you got five different things. You got a top 100 prospect, a 22-year-old pitcher, Jurrangelo Cijntje, 20-year-old outfielder, Peete, and 24-year-old outfielder, Colton Ledbetter, plus the two compy picks, which are number 68 and number 72. Now, let's start with what Cijntje brings to the table, because he was the Mariners' number 7 prospect and number 91 overall. And according to MLB Pipeline, he's going to slide into that number 4 spot behind J.J. Weatherholt in the Cardinals rankings. So he's right behind J.J., Liam, Renel Rodriguez, and in front of Leonardo Bernal. So you got your top 3. Cijntje goes in at number 4. Then it goes to Leonardo Bernal, who scooches back one little spot. Known for being a switch pitcher, ambidextrous, however you want to call it. That's great and all, and a unique ability, but the consensus from everything that I've read and listened to is that he is a much better pitcher from the right side than the left side. Now, he's not trash from the left side. Don't get it misconstrued, but he is definitely a better pitcher as a right-handed pitcher. And just before the deal, you know, it had been announced that the Mariners were going to have him focus on pitching right-handed while still dabbling in the left-handed stuff in some bullpen sessions. They weren't asking for him to give up on this altogether, but they wanted him to focus on throwing right-handed in games. So the question was, what were the Cardinals going to do here? Are the Cardinals going to follow suit and, you know, follow that path and have, you know, Cijntje doing the same thing where he focuses on the right-hand side and very little on the left? And here's what Chaim Bloom had to say about that particular question. I got to load it up.
Broadly speaking, we see, his strengths and his upside, I think, similarly to Seattle. This was something that actually came up over the course of conversations, really over the course of not just weeks, but months even, talking to Seattle about how they saw him. He's such a unique player. I don't want to get too specific just because I think we owe it to ourselves and to him to get to know him a little bit first. But, when you look at the stuff, the command, the upside, like the right, it's not a shock that they were prioritizing the right side. They still, and Jurrangelo also, I know, is passionate about continuing to keep up the left side. And I think for any number of reasons, including the fact that he's gotten to this point with a routine that's specific to him that you don't want to disrupt too much without good reason. They still had planned to keep the left side going, at least in a practice setting, at least in the bullpen. That makes sense to me from a distance. But I don't want to get too specific because I think we need to have this guy with us and learn him. We have a little bit of a running start. Obviously, Matt Pierpont has some history with the player from 2024. But first and foremost, we'll get to know him, understand him, see what's on his mind, make sure he's using his voice in his own development because he is unique and knows himself best. But broadly speaking, we do think that the course that they were going to take is a good one.
Now, the scouting report at MLB Pipeline says that he can crank the fastball up to 98 miles per hour with carry up in the zone, complementing it with an effective mid-80s slider that touches 90-91 with depth and a firm fading changeup. As a lefty, they had him as more reliever-ish, using a lower slot to get outs with a sweeping low 80s breaker and a low 90s fastball. Baseball America says that Cijntje sits in the mid-90s with his fastball and was up to 98 from both sides, though his average lefty fastball velocity was 1 to 2 miles per hour slower. His best secondary pitch is a firm mid to upper 80 slider that has a bit more sweep from the right side and is adept at locating his fastball to his glove side as a righty to set up the slider. He'll also infrequently mix in a low 80s curveball and an upper 80s changeup, mostly as a situational pitch against lefties. Much like his arsenal, strike throwing was much better from the right side. So, clearly there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to this particular prospect. He was taken 15th overall for a reason in the 2024 draft, ahead of, last year's postseason darling Trey Yesavage from Toronto. He's not a big guy, listed at just 5'11", which is why he gets comparisons to, pitchers like Marcus Stroman, but he is a strong guy, 200 pounds. Like, he's not 5'11", 165. He is 200 pounds. He is built well. Got to AA last year, and I would suspect he starts at that level again in 2026. Not because he's not ready for AAA, but simply because the Memphis squad that the Cardinals have at AAA, there's already a lot of arms that are up there that need work and need to be looked at. Guys like Quinn Matthews and Bryson Motts and Ishan Henderson. I would assume that both Motts and Henderson make the jump to AAA. Max Ratchick is there. You've got some veterans that are still right now with the team. If they make it through spring training, we'll see. But guys like Bruce Zimmerman, Zach Thompson, Jared Schuster, there's a lot of people there. And so kind of a full boat at Memphis at the moment. So you're not doing any damage by having him start at AA with in his Cardinals career. So that's where I would expect him to start. But it's a lot of good stuff. And we heard his name throughout this process of Donovan going to Seattle, so we're pretty familiar with what Cijntje brings to the table, and I'm excited about it. And I think most fans should be too. He's not a guy that's ready to impact the MLB roster just yet. Most of the guys that the Cardinals have acquired this offseason aren't ready to do that. Most of them, some of them are right there, but it's part of this rebuild, man. And this is how it's going to work. So the Cardinals also acquired a couple of very athletic outfielders. So we're going to talk about those guys coming up next here on Locked On Cardinals. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just kind of hand things off and move on with your day. Like a quarterback handing it off to the running back. Like, here, you take it. You take the hits. And with TurboTax's full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork, instead of spending hours trying to figure out all those silly forms. We don't know what we're doing. Stop pretending like you do. You can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, and they're going to handle everything from the W-2s to self-employed forms, and they're going to work to get you every deduction that you deserve. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get the updates right there in the TurboTax app. You're not sitting online watching the person do this. No, you move on. Do what you need to do. They'll take care of it. It's a huge time saver, gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert and do it for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. So make sure you file by February 28th. Take the taxes off your plate. Get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Take it up a level. Go ad-free. Join our Everydayer Club today. Get Locked On Cardinals with no interruptions. Plus, you get to be a part of that members-only Discord, which gives you access to chit-chat with all the rest of the Locked On Cardinals fans, myself included. It's for just $5 a month. $5 a month and $50 a year. Go to LockedOnSTLCardinals.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, let's talk about the other pieces of the puzzle that the Cardinals were able to get in return for Brendan Donovan. 2 outfielders, one from Seattle, one from Tampa Bay. Let's start with Peete. Now, Peete, kind of a cool dude. Watching his videos online, he's a guy that I immediately am attracted to as a player because of just the energy, and I don't know, he just exudes happiness and confidence. Like, he's got a personality. I think that's fantastic. I love it when a team's got some colorful players that have a personality and aren't boring and dull. Like, I want somebody to be boisterous and excited about playing the game of baseball. And he seems to be that guy. Former number 30 overall pick in 2023 out of high school, was their number 11 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. Now slots in at number 15 for the Cardinals in their top 30, which is still the 2025 list. They haven't updated those yet. Those are coming eventually. But he's just behind Joshua Baez, who is a top 100 guy now. And he's in front of former top 100 guy in pitcher Team Kent. So when asked about Peete and his combination of power and speed, but also his propensity to swing and miss, Chaim Bloom has this to say about Peete.
He is an elite athlete. The upside is not hard to dream on. You know, he was drafted as an infielder, moved out to the outfield, and has been really good out there. And like you said, he can impact the baseball. He can run. He can steal bases. Mm-hmm. He has swung and missed quite a bit. And obviously that's part of the reason a player like that is available in the context he was, is, you know, one of 5 pieces in a deal like this. You know, we do have some optimism that there's some things we're going to be able to do on the training and programming side that can help him. But, you know, we should also recognize that the other 29 clubs are smart, and they try to do things as well. So by no means do we think this is a turnkey fix, so to speak, but just something that we do have optimism that we can help him with, and want to get to know him and obviously see what he's been doing and what he's comfortable with, and not take his eye off of his strengths, because he's got the ability to impact the game in a lot of different ways.
Thank you.
And again, I want to reiterate here, Peete is 20 years old, guys. Turned 20 back in August. So he hasn't not been a teenager all that long. You know, we're creeping on 6 months now since he's been a teenager. So very, very young. So you got to keep that in mind when you see his strikeout numbers, which were clearly an issue. It's not, nobody's trying to hide from that and say he's something that he's not. Baseball America had this to say about Peete, that his left-handed swing, it's built for power. He showed it by hitting 19 home runs, 12 more than his previous high as he grew into his frame. However, swing and miss concerns remain a barrier. He struck out 162 times in consecutive seasons. In 2025, that total included a 32% overall miss rate, including 25.3% in zone and a 27% chase rate. Breaking balls give him the most trouble, though he handles velocity well. Reducing his whiff rate will be key to Peete unlocking his upside. If he refines his approach, he could see his stock rise to 2026, likely starting in high A to polish his game before advancing to double A. They also gave Peete some props on his transition to an outfielder. Remember when he got drafted, he was at shortstop and was playing shortstop in 2024. he was still putting most of his time in there. This past year was the first year where he was just an outfielder, and they gave him props about how good he made that transition. They give him credit for his strong arm, which he's always had since high school, always had a big grade on that. It kind of reminds me of another guy who was young, struck out a bunch when he came out of high school, and his name is Joshua Baez. And last year at age 21, for most of the season, he blossomed into a top 100 guy and is one of the more exciting prospects, not only in the Cardinals system, but in baseball now. Now he's a top 100 guy. So sometimes you just got to give them some time to get used to things, let their body kind of grow into what it's going to be, let them mature as a person. Let's let this kid cook a little bit before shredding him because he strikes out too much at the ages of 18 and 19 in the minor leagues in his first couple pro seasons. Okay, can we do that? The other outfielder they got was Colton Ledbetter from the Tampa Bay Rays, number 24 prospect for Tampa Bay. Does not crack the Cardinals top 30 for MLB initially. Doesn't mean he won't be out of the gate when they update the 2026 rankings. Doesn't mean he won't be in there then. But as far as like sliding him into what they have coming from 2025, he did not make the top 30. Doesn't mean he's garbage, but it also shows you how talented the Cardinals system is, where a system like the Tampa Bay Rays, who most people think always have a very good farm system, he's in their top 30, but not in the Cardinals. He's a former second-round pick in 2023, also out of Mississippi State, where he played with Cijntje. So that's kind of cool that they have that connection. He went one pick ahead of Brandon Sproat, who was part of the big trade with the Mets and the Brewers for Freddie Peralta this offseason. And he went 2 picks ahead of Ben Williamson, who was in this deal, went from the Mariners to the Rays as part of this 3-way trade for Brendan Donovan. Baseball America's scouting report on Ledbetter says his production so far has not matched his analytical data. He hits the ball reasonably hard, posting a 104 mile per hour 90th percentile exit velocity and 114 miles per hour max exit velocity in 2025. But he also hit just 7 home runs with a 113 isolated power mark in the Southern League. After striking out 28% of the time in 2024, he posted a much more sustainable 24% in 2025, but at the expense of power production. While Ledbetter is primarily a right fielder, an organization with fewer defensive demands could move him back to center more regularly. Ledbetter is a well-rounded, multi-position outfielder who draws walks, but he's going to need time to tap into more power production to project as a big league outfielder. And I hear all of that, and it kind of reminds me of Lars Nootbaar in a way. Just kind of similar. Good bat to ball skills, although he hits the ball hard when he does hit it. The data says that he should be a lot better than his numbers say. One thing that does stand out to me when I'm looking at the stats, 2024 when he was in high A, hit 16 home runs, which you like to see, but he also stole 34 bases. Then last year, the power, as they mentioned in the scouting report, that also dropped. But he was very active on the base paths again with 37 stolen bases. And I know fans want power. Chicks dig the long ball. I understand that. Cardinals could really, really use some power hitters, but you got to have some other guys too. You got to have some guys who can do some other things. They can be very helpful as well. So 2 athletic outfielders with some upside. Pete's upside seems to be a lot higher than what Ledbetter offers at this point, but certainly a guy to keep an eye on, right? Now, the final pieces to this trade were the draft picks. And boy, oh boy, do the Cardinals have some ammo heading into this next MLB draft. We're going to talk about those picks coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping that right person is just going to kind of stumble across your post, Indeed's going to help you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, the skills, the certifications, the location. That way you're not having to deal with people who really have no shot at getting this particular job. They just don't fit. So that's what I like about Indeed. You get specific and target exactly what you're looking for right away. Okay. There's no waiting around for, oh, I hope that right person finds me. No, Indeed's going to get you right to those people. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking here, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing the right candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Could not have done it without you. Thank you to all of you. Now we know the draft can be fickle in any sport, right? Which ones are going to hit, which ones are going to be busts, Same with prospects. These guys are unknown commodities, and you have to trust the people that do the scouting and drafting to give you the best shot at landing some winners among the thousands of players across the country, and I use the phrase more bites of the apple a lot when describing what the Cardinals have been doing so far, because, the more prospects and picks you have, the better your odds are at finding something special. Limited amount, odds aren't as good, right? So after getting the 3 current players, the Cardinals also got the number 68, number 72 picks in this upcoming draft from Seattle and Tampa Bay, which now gives them picks 13, 32, 50, 68, 72, and 86. That's 6 picks inside the top 86. Now, again, that's great and all, but what you do with them is what will ultimately decide how successful this trade can really be. Because if, let's say, just one of the 3 prospects that they got ends up hitting and doing well, and then your trades are a bust, you're going to be like a little disappointed. But if you have the picks and one of those guys hits and then 2 of the prospects hits, you're talking about a real success story right there. And for fun, if you look back at the 2024 draft at number 13, James Tibbs III, who got traded to the Dodgers by Boston for new Cardinal Dustin May, by the way, was who went at number 13 and 24. He's now ranked as the number 8 prospect for LA. Griff O'Farrell. Can't say I'm familiar with him. Went at number 32 to the Orioles, but he is inside their top 30. At number 50, you guys are going to recognize this name, Peyton Tolley, who went to the Red Sox and is now the 19th best prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline, and second among left-handed pitching prospects. Got him at 50. So there's talent there. Number 13 in 2023, Matt Shaw to the Cubs. 2022, Zach Neto with the Angels. Number 32 that year in 2022 was Sal Stewart, one of the top hitting prospects in all of baseball, top prospect for the Reds. 2021 at number 13, Andrew Painter, top pitching prospect with the Phillies. Number 72 that year, Bubba Chandler, top pitching prospect for the Pirates. There's a real good chance that you find some very good talent with these picks. Doesn't mean 68 and 72 are worthless, but, things get a little more difficult when you get a little bit later in the draft. But you've got a lot of picks to work with here. And more chances to hit on those, more competition at different positions. Chaim mentioned in the Zoom call that he was like, you want the ultimate goal is to have a top prospect at every position throughout your farm system. And the more guys you draft, the more guys you develop, better chances you can do that. John Denton broke down all of the additions that Bloom has made this offseason. It's quite a list. He netted them 9 new prospects, 2 of which are competing for a spot in this year's rotation in Richard Fitz and Hunter Dobbins. You got Cijntje, Brandon Clark, Yohiker Fajardo, Ty Peete, all land inside your top 30. Plus Blake Aida, Jack Martinez, Colton Ledbetter, to go along with 2 new picks. I know that you gave up 4 former All-Stars, one of which will be a Hall of Famer. But you weren't winning with these guys anyway. Like, it wasn't working out. You are shedding payroll for the inevitable strike before the 2027 season. And you're giving the youth of your franchise a chance to compete, make their mark without any pressure or restrictions holding them back. Like, the lanes are wide open. What can you do with them? Where can you take your game? The Cardinals have done a lot of upgrading as far as their scouting and instructors. Like, they're doing it the right way, at least from where I'm standing. They're doing this the right way. It's going to be a little painful in 2026 because the win total is going to hurt. It ain't going to be pretty. But you're going to see a young group of guys that are going to grow together. Like Lars Nootbaar is like the oldest position player now. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. But that's what this year is going to be for. You know, the word runway, I know it got worn out, but there's all of them are on the runway now. All of these guys, the whole team is on a runway, and we'll see where they can go together. I'm impressed. I'm impressed now that all of it is said and done. Will Jojo Romero get moved? Maybe. I don't know. But now we just got to get to camp, which is just a few days away. See what we got and who separates from who to be on the 2026 roster, which Chaim did bring up that, you know, that he's going to be looking outside of the organization for another bat to go into the outfield, right-handed bat. We know that's something that they need and are looking at. So we'll see what he's got. But we'll have to cover that in another episode. So your thoughts on what Chaim has accomplished so far. Are you impressed? Are you disappointed? Let me know in the comments section. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, like, subscribe on YouTube, obviously making that push for 14,000 subscribers. If you don't miss an episode, join the Everydayer Club. It's built for you. Locked On STL Cardinals.supercast is how you join the club. For those of you on video, going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make your second listen. Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.